All right, good evening, everyone. I'll start the meeting off this evening. If anyone's recording, would you make it known, please? Thank you. First item on the agenda, if you need a copy of the agenda, it's on the table there, I believe. First item is minutes, which we don't seem to have a copy of, so we will jump to the Bay Point subdivision bylaw. Do we have that? All in order?
No, they have not submitted that yet. They came in to get their C1 certificate signed and file the decision. They said they were going to follow it up with the Mylar for endorsement by the planning board, but they haven't submitted the Mylars yet.
What about the security?
And the security, they have a covenant that they are going to be preparing for the security.
Did you expect anything less, Charlie?
Doesn't matter. They can't pull a permit if all they're doing is a covenant.
That doesn't get them anywhere. I don't understand the covenant.
Well, I guess it at least gets it on record, it gets things legitimized. They can always swap it for a,
Again, another step.
yeah.
All right, then, we will move right to our public hearings. First up is Donna Petrone, or is it Petroni? 47 Swiss Beach Road for a special permit? Yes, please. How many of these you got?
Charlie?
Oh, you got it. Ellen, want one, Ellen? Public hearing information all in place, the green card's been,
Yes. We have all the cards that have been,
got a stack of them.
yep. Here's the public hearing notice.
All right. In accordance with the provisions of Article 15, the Wareham zoning bylaw and the Wareham subdivision rules and regs, the Wareham Planning Board will hold a public hearing Monday, September 25th at 7 p.m. in room 220 of the Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, to consider the application of Donna L. Petrone, 2 Wildwood Road, Plymouth, for a special permit for property located at 47 Swiss Beach Road, also known as Assessors Map 56, Lot 1009, in Wareham, Mass. Said plan proposing to construct a 3rd dwelling unit located above an existing garage in the MR 30 district. Copy of the plan and an application is on file at the Wareham Planning Department, 54 Marion Road, may be inspected during regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed plan should appear at the time and place designated. Do you have any plans or?
The plans are attached to the application form. They're small-scale plans.
Okay. All right, if you would just identify yourself for the record and explain to us what you're planning to do.
Hey, my name is Donna Petrone.
I'll pull the microphone a little closer, please.
My name is Donna Petrone. I own the property at 47 Swift Beach Road. It will be 2 years this November. I unfortunately when I bought the property, was enticed with the fact that all this stuff was ready to go. And it was my ignorance, I didn't check into it before that. So this summer, doing that, I'm finding out I need to go through all these hoops to put an apartment upstairs. It's been started. There's a lot of work that's been done up there. I don't know what's good, what's not. I mean, that's all part of this. My daughter lives on one side of the duplex. She has a few special needs. She's got a few things going on. I would like to be able to move into the apartment. I own a property in Plymouth, which I would like to sell if I had a place to go. And I'm getting older. I figured we'll help each other out. I'm not looking, to make a big investment property community over there. I do rent out one side of the duplex. My daughter lives on the other side with her 18-year-old who happens to be high-functioning autistic and has a little baby that's 5 months old. So I could be a help to them, and that's why I bought the property in the first place, was to get them out of the ghetto in New Bedford. So, there was a purpose. It's not so much money-making. There's plenty of room over there if anyone's gone out to look at it.
Which are you planning on expanding? The garage
The garage, the upstairs of the garage.
is
Has
what you
been
want
s-
to expand?
It's been, yeah, I just want to finish it.
So that would be,
Add anything, I want to finish it, what's already been started.
so that would be the third dwelling unit on the property.
It would be.
Now, your application said existing garage, your plan says
No, no,
proposed
the-
garage. Is that an old plan?
The garage is there, it
Okay.
was built in, I think, 2004, 5.
It's
It,
MR30.
And it appears from what I've seen that it was approved to be a rec room upstairs.
She's allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody's gone by the property since I bought it, I mean, I've improved it already quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to change the appearance, there's plenty of parking. It's just gonna allow me a place to go. I mean, it's not gonna, actually, like I said, I've improved the property quite a bit just since I've been there in a year and a half.
So this is an MR30 zoning district, and the determination is that when you have a 3 to 4 family dwellings, that it requires a special permit from the planning board. If it was a second dwelling unit, it'd be a special permit from the zoning board of appeals. But in this case, because it's a third unit, that it requires a special permit from this board.
When did it become a duplex?
Oh, I don't know. many,
Before you
many
owned the
years.
property?
Yeah, the fellow who owned it, that I bought it from, passed away. I bought it from his dad. The duplex itself has been there forever. I mean, it was a cottage, I think, at one time. I mean, I think it goes back in the records. I mean, the house was built in the early 1900s, I think, and then there was an addition put on, that's in the records. It got hit by a car. It's, there's been a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of traffic, I heard, prior to my buying it. So it's cleaned up quite a bit.
Why is there 3 mailboxes at the front door?
There's
How come?
three. The girl across the street, the postman only goes down one side of the street.
Okay. And any opposition from your neighbors?
Not the girl across the street with the mailbox. I actually spoke with her today. I was over there planting some shrubs.
What about the neighbors to the right and
I
left?
don't know anybody else there. I know the house diagonally across was just sold. I don't know if anyone's living in it yet. And then there's an empty field on one side of the house, and I spoke to the woman on that side like a year ago, but nothing about doing this. Just, you know, in general, trying to find out information about the property. I've closed off one of the driveways there, so they have to enter from the back, so it's not a big circle. It's 4 inches of stone dust that the fellow had spread across the whole property. I landscaped the front of the yard because there's no way you can plant grass. I put shrubs in around the property and window boxes and
Is this the lot?
No, the
No.
lot is this here.
Oh, it's whole square was, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
What is there anything built out above this garage right now?
I'm sorry, I don't
What is in the space above the garage right now? Is it unfinished?
There's been some work done, but it's not finished.
So what happens with the electrical feed, the water feed, the septic?
I pay for a water drop. That was
Okay.
there when I bought the house. I pay an electric bill.
It has a separate meter on there?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And there's a pellet stove in the lower level, in the garage part, which was approved. I don't care about having the pellet stove. I wouldn't even mind if I had to take it out, because that isn't something it's to my benefit. But anyway, the upstairs, I don't know what like I said, he's passed away. I have no idea of finding any information, what his plan was. There is a bathroom that's been started up there. It's not, the toilet's in, shower's in. I think it might have worked at one time. I haven't turned the water on to check it. There's a big slider in the back on the side of, well, the garage actually faces front to back from the street, it doesn't face the street. So on the backyard side, there's a slider that needs to be a deck put up there. And all the writing, the listing for the house supported the fact that that was a prospective area to live in. So I didn't do my homework. I assumed it could be done. My mistake. It's clean. The garage is nicer than the house.
Yeah. It's definitely newer.
Yeah. The house is really old with a dirt cellar and.
You can ask. We can ask the building commissioner.
So, ma'am, I got a couple of questions for you then. MR 30, number one, you don't have 30,000 feet, so that's an easy one. Number two, the work that was done above the garage, did you do it or did the man who died do it?
Everything was done when I bought it.
Okay.
I've done nothing to the garage,
All right,
except change the locks.
okay. Do you know when you bought the property, the duplex, as you call it, where your daughter lives and you rent the other unit, there should have been something in the deed or whatever that was an approved second unit. Do you have anything on that?
Well, it's not finished. The only thing I could find, because I came down and looked up the records, is it was a rec room.
No, the primary house.
Oh, the primary house?
Yeah, where your daughter lives, she has one side and
Yeah.
someone else rents the other.
Yeah.
Do you have anything, when you bought the property, you bought that as a duplex or you made it a
No,
duplex?
no, that's been a duplex forever, from what I can see.
Okay.
I mean, you look in the closet and the old wallpaper's in there. You know, I mean, it's old.
Well, old doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
you
No,
know.
but I'm just saying, I think it's been that way forever.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, the only couple of questions I have is, number one, we don't even have 30,000 feet. We've got work started on a garage on the second floor that doesn't seem to be a permit for, and she's not getting a permit for it until she gets a special permit. Number three, just the duplex itself, and make sure that that's a legal second apartment.
I have it inspected. I
You
mean, the
did?
town, as a matter of fact, the assessor was just out there last week, I think, before the
Okay.
hurricane.
All right?
Yeah, it's legal. I pay, I do the inspection from the town comes out and for the, to check it, and
All right.
it's on my deed, I think. I don't have that
Well,
with me.
that's what I'm asking you, is I said that
Yeah,
in
that
my
was
beginning
legal.
statement was, do you have that on your deed, that there was a legal second apartment?
I don't have it with me, but I'm quite certain it is, because I bought it that was in all the writing, that it was there. Matter of fact, I have this piece of paper from the town that talks about it. It tells the number of bedrooms. Isn't that from the assessor's office?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that tells you.
So that tells you it's a duplex?
Yeah, two-family.
Okay.
Code 1040, mixed use, two-family. And it gives you all that information.
And what's it say about the alternate structures like a garage?
The front garage was somewhere around here.
They're pushing the envelope. The thing is, they're pushing the envelope, they're gonna try to set a
You
precedent.
have suburban?
This won't be the first one that's done.
Children have this.
No, it's not.
This is a picture of the house before I got hit. So if you look, it's been changed. There were two doors right in the front. There are still two doors, but
It's
the two
bad
they
that
were
people
removed.
come,
Okay, you
this
can
was
have
beach,
those.
it was built prior to
So she got the
1951.
assessors, it says it's a two-family.
We have people,
Deal with the
houses
special
on there,
permit
they
for
have no
garage.
driveways, they have no
Right.
frontage, and we have no choice, we have to split them
Ah.
up, because the building, like
How many square feet is that room above the garage?
Just for whatever reason.
I measured the actual out, you know,
Income, and now we're gonna set a three-family on,
not,
Yeah.
it's gonna be smaller.
Yeah,
Once
yeah.
once the knee walls go in.
Sure.
24 by 40.
24 by
That won't be
40.
the size of the dwelling because it will have, the framing will bring the walls in.
So is that under 900 square feet?
24 by 40, have it change, 960.
Right.
Which is the dimension of the accessory.
That's a pre-existing requirement.
But it's-
Mm. We're adding to its nonconformity.
Do you have this picture of the garage?
Yes.
It's not gonna impact the neighborhood as far as traffic or, because it's set back. And there's a lot of room there. And I can't do anything with that big lot that's right next to the house. That's all just vacant.
It's down there, septic or sewer?
Yeah,
You got septic or sewer down there?
Town gas, town water, town septic. It's all town.
have you spoke to the health department and conservation?
I haven't done anything yet till I can find out. I do have a water drop that I pay for that goes to the garage. I pay for that every month. That was there, I did not have it put in. And I do believe that, it looks like the toilet might have worked before I got there.
Which leads me to believe there's sewer to it as well. I mean, if you're running water, it's going somewhere.
So there's
Right.
nothing says you can't have a bathroom in your garage.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, but where's it draining to? Has she got a separate sewer connection?
No, it's a town. I pay for a water drop every month,
No, I know.
I know
or
that.
however it goes.
Would have to, that's sewer over there, would have to be.
So it was, I'm assuming it was all plumbed. I mean, I would, you know, obviously I know I have to have all this stuff inspected. And they would give me the answers, but from what I can visually see, all that's there. There's a water heater installed. It's all plumbed, so
There
it's,
was a permit on this garage. You know, It'll be something.
Well, we can have that research done.
What is the land directly behind you? Is that private property or conservation
I
land?
was told by a neighbor that he owed taxes on it and the town took some of the land in the back, that he owned further back. I don't know if that's true. It's all woods back there, where the kids raise hell.
Yeah, I think that's the remaining lots of a subdivision that the town took. We just had, town just expressed interest.
It's all trees back there. I don't know what's, I don't,
Is there precedence for this in the town anywhere?
I have not been through a special permit for 3 to 4 dwelling units. And I don't recall anything on the records.
I don't know that, and we need to ask council, but I don't know that we could, that we're the right board for this to be in front of. I think they need the variance or something like that, because they're already
I
non-conforming.
did that first, and they told me no,
Mhm.
that this was what I should do. So I had to wait. I had an earlier date. I've had 3 different dates. I don't know which one came first. And they said they posted it as a variance, because I did go to the zoning board, and then I got a call saying that, no, that's not where I need to go. This is what I need.
That's the letter, August 16th, from Dave Requena, Director of Inspection Services. They laid out the options, that if it was a proposed unit as a second dwelling unit, it would require a special permit from the Board of Appeals. And if it was a 3 to 4 family use, it would require a special permit from the Wareham Planning Board.
Which is correct, but the problem being is you don't have the 30,000 feet to start with, so it would be a dimensional variance right out of the gate.
But
Third unit.
it's a 45,000 square foot requirement for a 2-family in the MR30 district.
What does she have, 28,000 or something? I mean, it didn't add up to me, but I'm just one person. Well, I guess the basic question is, you got a separate water drop, so you pay 2 water bills, one for the house, one for the garage. How about the sewer bill? You got 2 dwelling units
So
on the
I
house.
pay both.
You have,
I pick up those, yeah, the tenants pay their own utilities, but I pay for the water and the sewer.
all right, so you get 2 sewer bills, one for the garage as well?
Yeah, it's from the fire department, is it? Did I get, I mean, it's like weird, it comes from a strange place. It's not like the water department. One of them comes from the fire department, one of the bills.
No, is there a third sewer bill for the garage?
It's not being used. I don't know. I do know I checked on the water drop, on the water. Why do I have this extra water bill? And they said they checked it, and they said it's because there's a water drop at the building. And there's a ring in the toilet, so I'm assuming it worked at one time. I haven't, like I said, bothered to try turning it on, so I don't know.
Well, this is just my personal thought, gentlemen, is that I don't know that the building was built to code, because there's no record of history of it for its purpose here. So
The garage was permitted.
I understand it was permitted. I don't know if it was built to code for occupancy on the second floor.
Oh, I don't know either. I mean, I realize that I have to have that
And
inspected.
I think it's unclear on the septic tie-in. If the septic tie-in isn't a direct tie-in to the town's discharge, if it comes back to the primary house.
There's quite a distance between the 2 of the houses, between the garage and the house. It's a good distance. You could line 3 cars up between the 2. So I wouldn't think that they'd go all the way back to the house, would they?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, it doesn't seem logical.
But there is a third electric bill for the garage as well?
Yes, there is. There's a panel inside the garage.
So it was built
With a separate
to be
meter.
independent, yeah.
I think you don't want to go into building code issues with the special permit.
No,
That's a separate, and that becomes, if you make the determination as to whether or not a special permit is appropriate, then the building commissioner will ensure to enforce the code, building code on that.
Okay.
I mean, I am aware that if things aren't to code, I'm going to have to correct them. I am aware of that, but no, I didn't want to start getting estimates and find out unless I could do it. So that's where I'm at this point.
Does the special permit allow us to increase its nonconformity?
Well, that's what I'm saying to you. I don't think you have it to begin with, so if you want to enlarge it, that's a variance.
That's where I went first, was,
You went to zoning and they sent you back?
actually, it was posted. I was gonna do that, and then, Mr. Waquina said, this is what I should do. So we changed the date. So that's why I'm here today. I have another letter. I was gonna come in on the 27th, and then I think I have one for the 13th. Which one's this one? This was for the 27th. Was the zoning board was scheduled for the
This
27th,
is the house here, the dwelling that's here now.
and they changed it to the planning board for today.
No.
I have the letter right here.
You guys are keen on to know how that pass this.
Yeah.
Everybody and their brothers want to be current hardship.
I think if she's got a separate electric meter, and she's got a separate.
So
water meter,
she's got 3 sewer bills, so there's 2 sewer bills here, one here, and she's paying one here too.
Yes?
I don't know if she's paying a third sewer bill or not. That's academic.
You're paying 3 sewer bills on that property right now?
I am paying 2. One of them is a water drop that I believe that's
You
what
got
it
2
is.
water, you got a duplex, so you're paying 2.
I have the house and I have the garage.
But that's how many water and sewer connections are academic. That has nothing to do with the bylaw.
I mean, they're aware that it's there because I called to find out why I had that extra bill. And I said it was a water drop. I don't know if I have any on my phone, because I pay them online usually. You can look. I didn't
Sewer.
think
mean,
I
if
had to
it's-
bring
If
that.
the sewer to the garage, then the permit, if you go back.
Anybody could have run sewer, should have garage, sure. That's something somebody probably just ran in there.
But I think,
But none of which is contingent upon zoning, you know.
No,
Well, that's what I'm saying, 28,000 feet, you're gonna add to the non-conformity, that's.
well, right off the bat, we're non-conforming, you get 2 families on non-conforming now. To put a third one on there, that's shooting ourselves in the foot. Everybody and their brother in Swiss Beach be coming in crying hardship, they want to put a 3rd unit on for whatever reason. It's bad enough that we have to go and break them up now, because they were built prior to 1951, most of them cottages. I remember one we did, there was 5 cottages in the back, house was in the front, and they had a common driveway. No frontage, no nothing, we had no choice because of zoning prior. This here, you know, it's too bad that, you know, you was misconceived when you bought it, but I think your hardship was brought on by yourself. You said above the garage was a rec room, that's what it was built for originally?
that's what it says on the paperwork. It's not finished.
That's a long ways from a dwelling.
No, I know that. That's why I'm applying for a permit. They led me to believe it was different. I didn't see this paperwork until I started this process.
Well,
You know, I mean, I bought a house in November. And and you do what you do. I had it inspected, I did all of those things, and was led to believe that that could be done. It wasn't something I wanted to do when I first bought it, but I thought it was an option that I had. I don't have the write-up. It's on Zillow now, actually. If you want to look at the write-up, it's written the same way that they presented it to me.
And the density is, as you said, it's consistent with the other property. I think the property next year has an extra cottage or something on it, but I just question whether we have the ability to grant this. Because
I
it,
agree. I agree.
It's not zoning.
I mean, if going down the street, if you were to ride by it, you'll see it looks a lot nicer than a lot of the houses, that are squished in there.
I'm not finding fault, I don't know that we have the ability to allow it. I think you probably would have been better served at the Board of Appeals, but we can look into that question, see if it does
Well,
rightfully
it-
belong here, because we're increasing the nonconformity of the lot, which is not something we generally do at this board.
Oh, here's
Charlie,
the-
you have any
here's the
insight into
first-
this?
Here's the first notice that I have to pay.
Mhm.
And I'm paying for all this, too.
I understand.
That was, I cut it out. 13th was the first one. And then she's rescheduled it for the 22nd.
I understand.
And then she said, I have another one scheduled for today.
Have you any exposure to this?
Well, I do have some questions. I haven't had any exposure to it other than to look in the density regulations, and it does call for, it says, a single family is 30,000, a two-family is 45, and other residential use, which is what this would be, says 30. So if you've only got 28,344 to start with, you're already under the 30,000 minimum for a 3-unit facility. Whether it's attached or detached, you're still looking at 3 units. So it seemed that the planning board does not have the authority, in my opinion at least, to waive the requirement of the 30,000 square feet. That's a Board of Appeals matter. I did have a couple of other questions, if I may, about the plan.
Sure.
This plan appears to be perhaps a survey plan that was done. Did you engage Mr. McNeil to do this at all?
No, I didn't, I went everywhere, including the Registry of Deeds, trying to find something. And I was told by the people in the town's office that that would be appropriate. They went through their records and said we could do that I could use that.
Who did the work to show the driveway and the garage? Who did this work on the
The fellow
plan?
who owned the property was appealing to do something else, and that's where I think this initially came from. He was denied. So this is part of a process that he did, and it actually was a lot.
Okay.
A lot different. So I didn't have anything to do with it, I just cut and cropped.
The reason I asked the
Charlie,
question, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, I didn't hear the answer. Who, I didn't hear.
Apparently, the previous owner did the sketching of the proposed garage and the driveway. It appears that this was a survey plan that was drawn for the lot. For some other reason, you've got
So
part of a,
It doesn't,
title block in
it's
the
not the
corner.
authorship of Mr. McNeil.
Yeah. So the real question, and the reason I asked that was that, where is the access to the second floor in the garage? Is it inside?
There's a door on the front of the garage. Did you see, there's a picture right here. I put it away, hold on. This is the garage. Here's the door. And there's a double sliding patio door on the second floor on that end.
Okay, is there some sort of a deck or anything back there?
Not yet.
Okay.
No need to have one if it's not being used.
The reason I asked is it appeared this was a sketch of where the garage was. We don't know for certainty that in fact it is 11 feet 6 inches from the boundary line.
Right.
So without knowing that and knowing that the gentleman, I know this individual, whether he stamped this plan and located the garage to say that it's 11 feet 6 inches from the property boundary, we don't know. If it's less than that, you'd be looking at a setback variance as well as the area variance for the lot itself.
I'm pretty sure it's 11 feet. There's a fence up there, and I think you could probably fit an RV in there. It's big.
It might be. I'm not saying that it isn't. All I'm saying is that I don't see enough information to say that it is in fact, because if it's less than that, then again, that's a variance issue for
The
the
whole
board.
plan is downstairs in the building inspector's office.
Excuse me?
The entire sheet is in the building inspector's
Okay.
office.
And I did ask the question about the access because you'd want to be sure that there was sufficient access. That's a building permit issue, I agree. But if there were a stairway that was on a side of the building that encroached on that setback, you'd want to know where that was going to be.
There is, where the deck would go would be in the back of the property, and then there's a place to park like 3 cars, and then there's a shed. I mean, it's a big, I know in square footage, because of the way it's laid out, it's not big enough for what you're saying. I understand that. But if you were to walk the property, there's a lot of property, open property there.
I
'cause
would
the house is
encourage to
little.
get the plan updated, at least if your board decides to go forward with this, that you get an updated plan to show all of the proposed improvements that are going to be for that building, so you know where it is. Otherwise, you may be granting something that might be in violation further, we don't know
I
yet.
believe it's on file in the inspector's office.
Well, that may be, but it doesn't necessarily tell us that this was a stamped plan for the purpose of identifying where that building is. might have been proposed just like it says,
Mm-hmm.
and then the building built, and unless there was a foundation certification, we don't know where that building actually sits.
Is there a third structure on the property? Is there another shed or garage back there?
It's part of a truck.
Part of a truck, okay.
It was there.
What's in it? What's in it? I mean,
Boxes,
yeah, so,
storage.
yeah, okay, so it's a storage shed, yeah.
Honestly, I think the,
Here's a permit record. Garage was permitted in the date in 2007, inspection date. Here's all that stuff.
Okay, but that doesn't identify the certification that it's on the lot where it's supposed to be.
Well, how did it get permitted if it wasn't?
In 2007, things were a little bit questionable at time.
Nicely put, Sally.
I know. It doesn't tell us what we need to verify the foundation is where it is all I'm saying.
that top right bound, would that be the original location of Swiss Beach Road, or is that Brown Street?
I think that's Brown Street, George.
Top left, rather, I'm sorry. Did I say right? This one?
Brown Street is a town way, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not a frontage issue.
Oh, is that the one that's right in the crotch there?
Brown Street runs in front of the fence of the garage. It's right, that's Brown Street. It comes in at an angle.
This is way up near the
Matter of fact,
highway.
I put a big rock on the edge of my property to keep them from, they were using it like a runway. They'd start in front of my house and head towards Brown Street. So I had a big rock brought in to keep them off my front yard.
Well, I'm not saying that what you've proposed is necessarily wrong, but I don't see that we have the authority to just exceed the zoning bylaw. It would seem to me you have to go to the Board of Appeals and get a variance.
You tell them? That's where I went first.
Well, the problem we have is to legally have a two-family there, you need 45,000 square feet. And it says for other residential uses, as Charlie mentioned, you need an additional 30,000 square feet for each dwelling unit. So
I don't think you need additional, George, do you?
that's what the footnote says. For each additional unit, 30,000 square feet.
I'm not seeing that, but you might be right.
Well, if you need 45,000 for two, you're saying if you
And
want to add another one, you need more land. You wouldn't
And
go from
that's-
45 down to 30 for three.
That's pretty extreme. I'll agree with you there. That's a lot of square footage for a dwelling unit of this size.
Like, there's another building gonna go on the lot. You know, the building's already there.
The garage is there with
The
the
garage is
proposed
there.
rec room, and now you want to make it an apartment.
Right, but it's, I mean, it's not changing the land.
That's what happens, in my experience on the zoning board for years, is you get the apartment, and a year later, there's another apartment, there's no more garage. Now you have 4 units. And it's, oh, I didn't know.
Well,
That's why we're trying to help
but if
you.
I were that kind of person, I wouldn't have applied for a permit in the first place. I
understand
would have
that.
just done it.
I
I mean,
understand
I
that.
want to do it the right way.
I appreciate that, I really do. But
So,
it's-
I mean,
it's
that's what, you know, that's why I'm asking. I'm not looking to make a multi-dwelling there. It's a family situation.
Yes.
Mhm.
It's basically a zoning thing with the with the square footage. As far as getting the third unit, I think if you already have an electric drop there and a separate meter that you say you have, if you already have a separate water bill for the garage, like you say you have, I'd be curious to see if they
What's
put a
the
separate sewer
downside
line to that, a separate tap, you'd be getting a bill
30,000
for the
B,
dwelling
I
unit
take
for
it
that.
B is 2.
I know they comes crazy, and I know I'm
Oh,
not...
it comes crazy, but where your daughter lives in the duplex, you should get a sewer bill for 2 dwelling
Language about
units.
sewage and non-sewage
I don't know
someplace.
how it comes in, I'll be
Well,
honest with you.
well, I understand that,
Yeah.
but those are questions that,
Okay.
that
No, I
I know
understand
zoning's
that,
gonna
yeah,
ask you the
I
same
understand
things.
that.
So,
I just, because everything else was done, I'm pretty sure it was done, just the way it's done.
So on your assessor's bill there, you have, that the garage was permitted, right? Get a little more detail on what it was permitted
Right.
for.
Right.
Get a
No, what I
plan.
knew that,
Says-
that's why I'm,
Get a plan of what you're gonna do, all right? Show it, little floor plan,
mhm.
and it's a case, I've heard them before on zoning, like 14 years I listened to them. And I say to this board, my personal opinion
Do
is,
the research and
we can't
ZBA.
enlarge a
You can
non-conformity.
suggest it gets
Planning board
referred to
can't do it.
ZBA if
Your-
it's conformed to the
Your
regulations.
status with that duplex now is
Yeah.
non-conforming.
Should we double check?
So when they
You can-
made
you
that a
can double
duplex
check
way
that.
back when, there might be a variance in your deed somewhere that shows that they made it a
If it's
duplex.
determination, then to.
Or it
Probably.
became a duplex over the years, and it just got
Yeah, I
listed.
think that's probably what happened,
just
but
got
the
listed.
town is aware of it.
Yes, I understand that.
I'm going to suggest that we continue and do a little research.
Okay.
And if we find in the meantime that you need to be directed to ZBA, then make that correction. If we don't find that out, we'll be able to make a decision at the next meeting.
Which I was told there isn't another one in October. There's none because of the regular meeting. So you're talking
where's the-
November?
We got the calendar.
There's an October 9th,
Is that Columbus Day?
so we have it set on October 11th.
Normally we jump to the next Monday. If you got the calendar?
There you go.
That might be a holiday too, National Bosses Day.
And the 23rd is the town meeting.
Is the board available on the 16th of October? Do you know? Because we won't have a meeting otherwise.
What's the date? 16th of October.
Yep.
That work for you, John?
That's fine.
Want somebody make a motion?
What was that motion, John?
Make a motion that we continue the 40 Swifts Beach Road special permit for Donna Patron until October 16th, giving us enough time to do a little research on planning versus zoning.
Second.
Any discussion? Just to clarify, we're going to schedule for that night, and we will
I appreciate that.
get a
Thank you.
ruling on whether we have that authority to grant or to vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, those applications back.
Next, we have site plan review for 6 Recovery Road.
Applications back for that one.
got busy?
Shit.
Mr. Chairman, I brought some half-size plans. Be more convenient for the members.
Except I got my notes on the big one.
Thanks.
I gotta use this, but I'll take one. Anyway.
Everything in place.
Notice it here.
Go on to read. Yeah. In accordance with the provisions of Article 15, the Wareham zoning bylaw and the Wareham subdivision rules and regs, the Wareham Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 25th at 7 PM in room 320 of the Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, to consider the application of Kevin Olivera, care of GAF Engineering, 266 Main Street, Wareham, for site plan review as shown on plans entitled, I think that's supposed to be site development plans. 6 Recovery Road, Wareham, Mass., prepared by Kevin Olivera, 2421 Cranberry Highway, number 316, Wareham, Mass. Prepared by GAF Engineering for property located at 6 Recovery Road, also known as Assessors Map 108, Lot 1018A in Wareham, Mass. Said plan proposing to develop a 4,960 square foot medical building on a 40,266 square foot parcel in the industrial zoning district. Copy of the plan and the application on file in the Planning Department, 54 Marion Road, and may be inspected during regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard should appear at time and place designated. Shoot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Bob Rogers from GAF Engineering. This project, if you recall, back a year, we were approved for this piece of property for a slightly different shaped building and a slightly smaller lot. So we were approved last year for a 4,000 square foot, 2-tenant medical office building. The dimensions at the time were 40 by 100, and it was a very similar situation with parking on either side of the building. It's very similar in terms of the drainage design and so forth. So what we have tonight is a new application, a new site plan submittal. So it's a 62 by 80 foot, 2-tenant medical office building with a 12-space parking lot on the north or east side, or I guess we might as well start talking left and right if we're standing in the street looking at the building. So there's a 2-entrance, 12 parking space lot on the left-hand side of the building, and there's a 20 parking space, 2-entrance parking lot on the right-hand side of the building. And the reason for the dual entrances is that with the medical profession, we have Dr. Olivera, Coastal Orthodontics is the orthodontry business is going to be on the right-hand side with the larger parking lot. We don't have an established tenant or an established floor plan for the left-hand side, but we know we want medical office, which is what Coastal Orthodontics is, and it's also what the, I believe it's physical therapy is on the other side of the street at 1 Recovery Road. So the idea behind the dual entrances is for ease of entry and exit, and really it's for drop-off of patients. And so we are giving up a couple of parking spaces that we could potentially have in favor of circulation and ease of entry and egress. So this property has municipal water, municipal sewer. It has good soils. Where the challenges are in the grading and in the 50-foot no-touch, no-disturb zone. So we've gone to quite a bit of trouble to make that all work. We're, of course, before the planning board tonight. We have a review letter from your consulting engineer, Mr. Rowley, that we've gone through. Our plan is to get your comments tonight, work through the letter, have our discussion, make the plan changes that we need to, and then file a notice of intent with conservation. We have not done that, but we're planning to do that later this week. And then, hopefully be in position in November for approval by both boards. So I leave it to you, Mr. Chairman, to carry the ball, and I'll, answer any questions I can.
So you changed the design of the structure also?
We hired, Mr. Oliveira hired a design-build firm from Sagamore Beach, Conserve Group. So we have a real building at this point. We've submitted a floor plan and some architecturals, elevation views. They're still on board. We're basically, some of Mr. Rowley's comments are related to the building, and they're gonna, be with us and assist in that effort. And actually, Mr. Oliveira went a step further and hired basically a dental office specialist to work on the floor plan. So the floor plan layout with these dimensions is what works for him. Once they have somebody lined up for the other side of the building, you'll see it's a half a floor plan. Once somebody's lined up for the other side of the building, we'll get that taken care of.
So the initial building, when you came in a year ago or so, I believe it was kind of like a glass front, glass sides.
Yes, it was. We had a size and we knew the overall square footage that we wanted, and then we submitted an elevation view of a building that we liked, but it didn't, the floor plan associated with it. It was a fine architectural firm from Boston, but it was still at a point where Mr. Oliveira did not own the property, and so, we spent what we needed to do to get the planning board's approval and to get a comfort level to then purchase the lot.
So we got a comfort level of having it downstairs and having an exit and a set of stairways out to the back, which you still show a stairway going down to a basement, and you show almost a bulkhead effect for the stairway coming out. But on your plan, I think you have, just shows the stairway the other way. Just, one elevation doesn't match the plan you have, so I'm just saying. So it's back to my same questions. It's still a two-story building, storage below?
Well, it's a one-story building with a half a basement. So with the increased square footage, before we had a full basement, and now we have a half a basement because we want the overall square footage to remain under 7,500.
Yeah, for sprinklers, I understand.
For
yeah.
sprinklers. So if you go back to, because you're absolutely right, if you go back to the 50-foot no-touch scenario, so we have a half a full basement, we need a means of egress, and it's an escape egress. So we don't want to put a walkway, a concrete walkway along the rear of the building.
I know, we've been over this. I beat this to death a year ago.
So, well, sure. So we put the stairs on the side where we had more room to avoid the 50-foot no-touch.
Okay.
And it's a code issue. We do not expect people to be going up and down those stairs to access the basement door, but we need to have it.
You need to have it, but it's going to be storage. It's not gonna be office space that the public can get to.
That's
what we,
correct.
that's what we went over last year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's the same.
Yes, sir.
The tenant's happy with that. So he's got a bigger building, now he's got a half a basement, it's still storage.
Yes,
Because
sir.
if you have people gonna be coming in and out of there, they gotta be able to get out, and you gotta have a walkway. So,
Correct, and it would also count for, towards the parking requirement, which we,
right,
you know, we're over on it right now, but we want to stay over.
okay.
So,
All right, well, architecturally, I mean, it looks like you're gonna make it look pretty much like the building across the street, right? Who's over there now? I think it's the orthopedic guys in a rehab center or something.
yeah, I'm not sure, sir.
Well, it's a little, it's different, but it's wood frame, it's not all glass like the
Well,
First
sure,
rendition.
like I say, now, we've got a real building now, and we've put more effort into, you know, both the landscaping, the lighting, the architecture, things that we were light on the first go-around.
The elevations don't show how you would screen the mechanical equipment. There's a parapet here?
There's, that's correct.
How high is the parapet?
That's something that the conserve group is going to work on. I do not know that. So we have equipment and solar panels that can go
Yeah,
on the roof.
they're not shown on the elevations.
That's correct, sir. So a GAF needs to make some minor modifications to our drawings, and that will happen as well on the elevation views and the architecturals.
Not really, grass.
What is the roof material?
I do not have that answer. So,
And what is the material of the siding, of the walls?
I don't have
So
that either.
you will have that,
So, the project manager from the conserve group, he had a conflict this evening, otherwise he would be here. But he is in receipt of the consultant review letter, and so he will be responding to those, the things that relate to the building. We'll get the answers from them.
and also, would it be possible to see a three-dimensional view? There are some, the elevations, I think are thought through, okay, but it's difficult to read them because of the varying geometries. Would that be also clarified in the next presentation? Is there a follow-up to this, Jim?
If you continue the hearing, you can,
Well, and I'm gonna ask for a continuance to the hearing, because I'd like to get an order of conditions and get the site
Yeah,
plan special
we
permit.
need, we need to know the materials
yes.
and how the roof is, how the equipment is screened in accordance with the bylaw. The decision to have 4 curb cuts so close to each other, is that negotiable?
This is our preference. I believe it would comply with the regulations. And so you can look at it in terms of square footage of pavement. You can look at it in terms of the short length of a little bit of extra driveway. Our preference is to keep it the way it is for the safety and convenience of the people using the business.
Mr. Rowley's letter also indicated the water runoff from the road and from the adjoining property onto this property, so the applicant is aware of it?
Well, yes, that's correct. And so one of his comments asked us to provide spot grading for the crown and along the edge of the road, and I'm sure that we have that information. I did not make any revisions to the plans. What we did was myself and the project manager from Conserve met with Mr. Buckland, the town planner, to go through Mr. Rowley's letter so that, you know, we would know after tonight what we need to do. So it's a crown road, it's a public street, there's no Cape Cod berm, So what there is sort of the typical build-up. The edge of the road is sand, but in several places, the water enters onto the property right now. That catch basin on the other side of the road is kind of a not your standard municipal catch basin, but it is a little yard inlet catch basin. It's there. I don't know how old, but the head wall is now on Mr. Oliveira's property. Last year, that head wall would not have been on Mr. Oliveira's property. But looking at the grades, it's from that right-hand side property line to the 54 contour in the middle of the proposed building is very flat. And so the water just slowly runs off the road onto Mr. Oliveira's property. And then if we tried to push it down the road towards Kendrick Road, it's going to enter on, if we don't stick with the design, basically the water would get pushed down. It would go onto that community development lot that was the daycare center. And so we don't want to do that. So what I did was I estimated the amount of recovery road and the drainage that goes into that yard basin, and I performed the calculations with the current design so that the incremental distance of recovery road goes in the paved waterways into our rain garden infiltration system. And then with particular respect to the head wall, we've put basically an emergency overflow 6-inch pipe with a flared end that goes to the right, to the east, but it discharges still onto our own property. And we had a brief discussion with Ken. I imagine we need to figure out what's the proper easement to put for that. Because what we're doing is we're accepting and treating and taking care of the town's drainage in this section of road, and we have no issues doing it because we have the room to do it and we have the soil to do it. But I don't, and again, after tonight, I'll have a separate meeting with Mr. Rowley to go through this. But I think it's a good design. Maybe I'm always open to better ideas.
If I'm going to visit the dentist or doctor on the north side or on the left side, and I have to park on the right side, I will walk down the driveway, onto the road, onto the street. Will there be a sidewalk between the two parking areas against the building so that pedestrians don't have to walk on the street?
We're not proposing one at this time. We're not.
I think,
So
would it be a good idea?
we are looking at it. We discussed it at the meeting with Ken. We think there's a way to, if we need to do that, we think there's a way to do it that isn't a typical 4-foot concrete sidewalk right up against the building. We're thinking that it is not something that is going to be normally needed. It's two separate offices, and hopefully they are both dentists, but we don't expect someone to go to one office for a cleaning and then immediately go over and get Invisalign or braces. But there is some room, and there is an ability to put a walking path, and maybe it's pervious and not concrete. But again,
We all make the mistake of going into the wrong parking lot all the time, right? I mean, it's going to happen. Or one lot will be full, there's no parking, but there's parking on the other side. You park there, and now you have to walk back. I suggest it would be a good idea to have a walk. For pedestrian, it doesn't have to be concrete, it could be pavers, it could be all, but I think it would be useful.
it's on the list.
The rain garden, you proposed it directly in front of the building?
Yes, all three of those drainage areas are set up as rain gardens with the soil and the under drain, and we had the landscape architect, Mr. Fuller, came up with the specific plantings.
The bottom of the rain garden is higher than the basement floor. Given the proximity of the building, is that going to be a problem?
I think the requirement is 10 feet. I don't know exactly what that distance is, but, and it's a half a basement, so I think you make an excellent point. And so maybe it's, maybe we need to do some waterproofing for that portion of the foundation.
I just, given the proximity, it doesn't have a lot of room to infiltrate.
Provide for rain garden, that's all.
Will the basement be plumbing?
Excuse me?
Will there be plumbing in the basement?
The basement is for storage.
No,
So-
no need to discharge water from there? From
No,
a
sir.
sink or toilet? And then you will provide the illumination data also?
Excuse me?
Illumination data?
Yes, when we had the design-build outfit, and you should have gotten copies, but what happened is we got it, and we can add it to the plans. It kind of makes a mess. What we got is 14 pages of lighting specifications that I submitted basically in booklet form. So, and, I can resend PDFs if need be, but when we actually got this little picture, you should have gotten it in your packets, but, so we have the lights and the poles and the locations per this. It makes it tough to do a landscaping and lighting plan with, and you can see, with the landscaping and the shading, it's not the best, it's not as clear as it could be, but we have submitted lighting data, a lot of lighting data. So maybe between myself and Mr. Riley, we can figure out the best way to put it on the plan. So as the, per usual, you get this from the distributor, RAB Lighting.
Charlie, I had read through your notes and all. Did you guys talk sense or no?
No.
So then, am I to understand there will be a revision to these drawings to incorporate the comments from Mr. Rowley and what we're
Yes, sir,
discussing
there's-
here today?
I think right now, at least we agree to disagree on the entrance for the left-hand parking lot. I think there's an issue of these light poles as well. We put them on concrete bases and we put them on the stripe of the parking space so that they wouldn't get hit. So we think our light pole bases are in a good spot. My intention is to have that separate meeting with Mr. Rowley in our office. So we had the meeting with Ken, and we're having the meeting with the planning board tonight, and I appreciate hearing, believe me, any concerns that any member has, that's what we're here for, that's what we want to hear. And then I'll circle back with Mr. Rowley and make the plan changes initially primarily so I can file the notice of intent, so that the plans that conservation gets have already been partially reviewed. And then we would follow up with an official response to Mr. Rowley. And, I don't know if you're going to have a meeting in October after the 16th, but we wouldn't be in front of conservation until the 18th, I think. So if I file this week or next at the latest, I get October 18th, and so the 16th doesn't do us, we wouldn't be making much progress here on the 16th. But there's absolutely going to be changes to the plan. They're not major.
Sure, I would encourage you to think about a sidewalk
Mhm.
And also show us how you plan to conceal the mechanical equipment and the solar panels. And the
Correct.
materials.
What's the next date we can get this guy?
Steps here, there should be an inside here. Both going downstairs. Isn't the right-hand side that's going to have the cellar?
So if you're not ready to come back for the 16th, it's not gonna be till November.
Isn't the right-hand side of the building?
November 3rd.
It's going to be the primary.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to make much sense to request the
side that it's all-
16th,
the
and,
other side's
well,
on the
maybe,
grade.
you know, it's up to you guys. But I can't get October 4th with conservation. I can only get the 18th,
Let's
so,
go with the other one where they show the...
you know, I don't mind coming on the 16th.
I don't
to-
have it in my half. so-
Fine.
Well,
November 13th.
Yeah, no, November 13th? Yeah, so November 13th would be the next one, but I've read through Mr. Rowley's comments. I think you guys could probably clear that all up relatively quickly.
The other problem I have is, I mean, this week I'm on
Well,
vacation next week.
This is the front of the building, I take it, right?
That's the only other problem I have, sir, is I'm on vacation next week. And,
again?
So we should
yes,
continue to
yes.
next week?
That long weekend in
This is the-
July,
This is the right-hand side. Right-hand side
still be
has the full
charging my
basement.
batteries.
Left-hand side has a slab.
That's fine.
These steps here shown on the right-hand side. Yeah.
But, so I would take the continuance to the 16th and just manage it. If I feel like I'm not going to be a useful, using your time wisely, I'll submit a request for continuance before the meeting.
It should be
That's
on this
fine.
side here. Right.
So as long as you guys get straight, it's...
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's reasonable. Let's see if I would have a follow-up discussion if necessary.
Need a motion, George, for continuance?
That's the only thing that really strikes me is that there should be some sort of pedestrian way from one parking lot to the other.
Pretty nice, too.
Your light pole location, they seem to be in a safe location.
I made a recommendation, George, in my letter about that. Typically, the detail says that it would be 2 feet behind the pavement, which
Yeah, they are
clearly
in the
can't-
front.
clearly can't be.
Right.
So the alternative to setting it behind the pavement, which they can't do because they've got a retaining wall there, would be to set some bollards in front of those pedestals.
Right, this is the front of the building here.
Guarantee you, somebody's gonna come in
Oh, yeah.
and they're gonna hit that pedestal with a light.
Yes.
I've seen it 100 times.
Yes, parking lot's here, right, this is the
Put a
front
couple
of
of
the building.
bollards there, at least that protects the pole, it protects the person's car, and all of
Not
a
if
sudden
they
you
hit
don't
the
have a light
bollards.
pole
Until,
that's halfway over.
until the second guy hits it.
Yeah, what I was going to do was fix the detail, Charlie, and make it consistent with the plan view, and that is the purpose of having the light pole bollard up 3 feet. And I've probably hit one once or twice myself, but we're challenged for space, and
Doesn't-
so,
Is there anyone here this evening who wants to comment on this one? So you want to, any other direction as far as what the board would like to see?
George, just a question about the building itself. The rear elevation leads you to believe that they're actually filling the grade up against that building to a higher grade than what shows on your grading plan. Not sure if that was the intention, because they show the door on the left-hand side of that, which is opposite the stairwell, and a raised elevation to the right of that. as if it was like a knee wall.
I thought I saw a 1-foot difference between the,
I'm not sure what they're doing there.
did I see a 12-inch difference between the basement floor and the grade in the back? The basement?
Yeah, that's correct.
The
So-
elevation view of the building in the rear appears that there is, they're bringing the grade up 3 or 4 feet on the foundation wall back there. That may not be the case, but it appears that way.
Right.
Look at where the door is and the lines that are to the right of that, it makes it appear that there's a grading of those.
Right, when we met with Ken, it was a mistake, the concert group, it's an error on their plan. So basically, they're gonna revise that,
Yeah,
show
business
it
with
flush.
freedom.
that's
with
why I
the-
told you, one
Wasn't
plan
mechanical,
doesn't
back
match
for
the
3
other.
days.
Right.
That's a good concern, because the one plan shows the stairway going one way,
The thing is, if
the
you
other one
use
shows it coming
European,
straight out. If it's
projection,
coming
it's
straight
totally
out, you
opposite.
need a level grade,
Not used to.
so if you are filling, you're gonna have to have some sort of retaining wall on it, so.
Right, we're gonna straighten out the coordination between our
Sounds
two
good.
sets.
Mr. Rogers,
Yes,
I
sir.
got a question for you. On page 4, you show the stairwell on the left-hand side. That's the slab side of the building, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Why do you
So-
have stairs going out?
Well, because in the event that someone needs to escape the building, they'll go out and they'll turn to the left, and that's where the stairs are.
Okay, now on page 10, you show it coming off the other side of the building from the cellar part.
Page 10,
You don't have it there, it's here.
so,
It's not in the small sheet, it's in the big one.
okay, so that's
The
the
cellar's on,
architect's drawing.
the cellar's on the
So-
right-hand side of the building.
That's correct, so we're
Okay.
gonna fix the two plans. Theirs is wrong, mine is right, and we're gonna fix it so that it's consistent.
Which one you looking at, the little one or the big one?
Well, I know what you're saying about the big one,
Okay.
but, so we
I just asked
got a
that.
couple of things where we just didn't get it together, and
Okay.
we're gonna get it together.
I just want to let you know that we are checking.
The record shows that
sir.
Bob is right. And the architect is right.
Yes, that's the
We'll revisit
conflict
that
between
on the
architects and
16th.
engineers shall go on. So, but I think, yes, you're right.
So, was there a motion to continue?
Well, you're gonna get out.
To October 16th.
October 16th.
Second?
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Well, thank you very much again. Charlie, I guess if you have any time for me this week, gone to New Hampshire.
Well, Charlie likes New Hampshire. Take him with him.
I could do it, Wednesday morning.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, if this goes on a town road, no.
I'll shoot you an
If it
email.
was a state road, we have no
Pick a time.
jurisdiction over that, because the state dictates the curb cut.
Say 6th.
Next, we have a referral for Wareham Marketplace amendment. Wareham Marketplace?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is a special permit before the Board of Appeals. And with special permits come referral. The proposal is to expand the footprint of the retail space in the plan as a modification of the original special permit.
Expand it in which direction?
The retail building B be expanded, and retail building C be expanded.
Isn't C's up already? They're gonna add
Was-
to it, or they're trying to modify it to make it fit?
No.
Spaces, Mike.
Aldi is up and AutoZone is up.
Right.
B and C, I don't think they've begun construction, correct?
Correct. And the proposed bank,
I thought they removed that.
they,
Two slabs.
it's back.
Okay,
So, that's the full one, right?
Mm-hmm.
that's the one that's up now.
What's the slab that's in there now? This one or
Nope, this one.
this one? And what do they want to do?
They want to increase the footprint of this building and this building here.
Okay.
So that's gonna affect this driveway.
Yeah. There was landscaping.
Is this you guys?
This represents the new plan?
This is the new plan.
That building C is being lengthened from 90 feet to 135 feet. It's also moving from a 25-foot setback from Toby Road to a 21-foot setback from Toby Road.
By pushing that building, making it longer right off the bat, you're taking away some of the visibility coming out of there.
Well, the driveway's not changing. The landscaping is essentially being removed because there won't be any room for it. And they're also eliminating the parking spaces which were on the back of the extension of the Aldi's by pushing that rear wall out. They had parking spaces to the rear of the retail portion of that building that's adjacent to Aldi's on the old plan.
Is
Four
the
spots.
initial approval
Or
on this
just the
packet or
new?
no?
No, we don't have the original.
Those spaces have been taken out. The total number of spaces has been slightly reduced, and they've expanded the retail space to occupy the place of where those spaces used to be in the back.
See,
Building C, they've made it
it's
deeper.
they've made it deeper back that way, but nothing going towards the road?
You can see this building is right out to the sidewalk, whereas it used to be back here. It's 135 feet long now.
I thought you were
Used to be
talking to
90.
expanding this one, I thought you said
They
C.
are.
They are expanding that one.
This one used to be here,
Okay,
from here to here,
yeah,
with landscaping in here.
okay.
Now it's added by 45 more feet. There was parking spaces all in here.
Right.
They've been eliminated, and this building is made deeper.
They're deep.
This building is now 20 feet from the street line instead of 25. This total impervious cover isn't any different than what it was. But they've moved this closer. Now this long wall again.
I hate to say I told you so, but didn't I tell you?
None of this has changed. This increased by, I believe, 400 square feet. The bank is the same as it was. The parking and everything is the same.
Who owns this?
Is that
Who's the owner of this thing?
Jay Donegan?
J. Donegan Company is the leasing and development company.
To do to the parking requirement.
It reduced it slightly from what it was. They were way over the number that they needed, and it's been reduced a little bit.
They increased the square footage and reduced the parking, they still meet the requirement.
And there's no landscaping in that parking C?
There's landscaping throughout the site, but they
Not
eliminated
in
what
the-
there was in here. This was supposed to be a sort of a restaurant, and there was outside seating, canopies and tables, and little things like that in this area. They're gone.
Do they know who's going in there, or they just want to make the building
I
bigger?
don't know.
And
See, that's the
basically, the back of the building will be facing Toby Road.
And what is
Yeah,
the
as it
face of
was
the,
before.
what is the
But
face of the
there
back
was
of the building?
landscaping before, wasn't there?
Well, there was
I thought
landscaping,
I
whatever you
thought
could
just-
get in there, yes.
It's a C or asphalt,
But it was still the
Call
back of
us.
the building. I mean, the front of the building is here.
So there's no motor vehicle traffic behind those buildings in that 20-foot strip?
Here, no.
So they're
Got one little landscape piece here, one here.
So on that building though, all they did was take out the outside seating and the little bit of,
Yeah,
any landscape, and just push the building right to the walkway.
yeah.
See, my 2 cents with that is, and I've seen it 100 times, is, well, we want to make the building bigger. Why? You said that would have been a good enough restaurant. Well, now it isn't. Well, who's going in there? Well, we don't know. Then why did you just expand it right to the sidewalk? So that would be my only question, Mr. Chairman, is if they've got tenants, that's one thing. If you're expanding a building right to the limit, right to the driveway where you come in, and you don't know who's going in there, that's kind of pushing a...
The architectural renderings identify that as the dollar store.
This one's gonna be a dollar store?
That's what the architectural renderings show.
How many dollar stores will we have now? Two, it's gotta be clear.
Dollar General.
How much is everything?
Only in some of them.
This is gonna be the real dollar store.
They're not changing any of the parking configuration because Katie was up there all day today, up until 6:30 tonight.
Yeah, they're pushing to get, yeah, so they're just making this deeper but not going up
They did not push it out this way any further, but they eliminated all the employee spaces.
back there, yeah. And again, no idea who a tenant might be.
No.
Okay,
The architectural renderings identified that as 3 different unique spaces.
That showed up.
this one here will be 3 tenants.
That's what the architectural renderings
Initially it was 2,
So
suggest.
it'd be hair and nails,
yeah.
Is that the AutoZone pulling out of the
Shoes.
Plaza?
Yeah, who's going in that one, Charlie?
That's AutoZone.
That's the one down in
Cranberry Plaza, Walmart.
Old Walmart? That's
Yeah.
the one in there?
No, the AutoZone.
AutoZone is down almost to Redwood Road.
no,
No, that's the one on the
that's
turn.
advanced. AutoZone is in next to the post office.
Those are the good guys. AutoZone is the crummy ones.
The dollar store, or is that what's that be pulling out of there too? at
AutoZone.
Cranberry Plaza?
AutoZone's the crummy one that's down by,
I thought it was advanced.
All right, so
AutoZone's in Cranberry Plaza.
I know.
who's the bank?
They didn't identify it last time.
It's not your bank, is it, Claire?
No,
That's not your bank, is it? They're putting,
Well, it just seems to me if they can put large trees along here, they can do it along here also.
yeah, they could put some more trees in there.
Well, they did eliminate some parking spaces that were.
Ronnie, can you use
What-
the microphone, please?
Say again, Bob?
Use the mic for Charlie.
that's Charlie, not us.
Sorry about that.
Those
stand it up.
those were always a bone of contention, those parking spaces, about pulling in between the 2 buildings from the get-go.
Yep.
So they've taken out one side, but they've left the 4 or 5 on the other side, little less chance for backing into someone. I didn't like that the first time. You know what I mean? It's backing out here, there's plenty. Once you get in between a building, now you're awful tight, so.
Well, my own 2 cents is I thought the site was overbuilt in the first place.
Yes.
And, you know,
And now
now
they're
they're making it worse, but,
making their 2 bigger buildings bigger, so.
All the trees are gone now, so now's the time to do it, right?
well, I just say, they're the ones that have to make it work.
So this one's already increased too?
That went by, I think it was 400 square feet.
What is that?
Just a standalone retail shop.
Just a pad site for some
Which, well,
retail.
Bicycle shop.
Could be a restaurant, freestanding.
Discount bicycle.
that one
Olive
is-
Garden, finally we found the Olive Garden.
Alan squelched the Olive Garden.
Until spring, and then the rumors of the Olive Garden will
They'll be
surface
back
again.
again. What was the other one? What was the other one?
Sonic?
No,
they're not
Cracker
coming.
Barrel. That came in
Oh, that's
once.
going across the street.
Yeah, so-
Where's Panera Bread going?
Well, I don't,
They
you know
need a
what?
drive.
It is what it is. A
Drive-through.
little bit more landscaping up there would be fine.
Oh, they can have one right here. Get your stuff on the way out.
Well, again, I just, my
So
only
you-
concern is when they push the gamut, George, right to the sidewalk, right to the curb cut, and you don't know who's going in there, why are you making the building that much bigger? It was nice with the little tables or whatever, at least like you say, you could see going out. Now you gotta get all the way out to the road to see, because there's a tree right behind the corner of the building, which is right at the edge stone.
Do y'all think this is gonna be able to handle this volume here coming out? And what's happening here? Is there a light going here?
No.
No light on the Cranberry Highway.
So we're gonna cross 2 lanes, making left-hand turns again?
It's a
No,
right
that's-
turn only.
If you're honest.
What do you think,
You
Jim?
know, human nature is, if you can get your nose out to your car, you're gonna go
Kind
anywhere
of
you
like the
wanna
same
go.
way the Mayflower Bank is
Yeah.
right turn
Right
only.
to the right.
When you look at the foundation that's on Toby Road right now and see what it's going to be, you're gonna see nothing but a wall,
That's right.
and it's gonna be even worse with a big one.
So Mike, what is the finish on that wall, the facade? Is it clap?
Bricks.
It's
Cement
block.
block, right?
Yeah,
Masonry.
concrete masonry units.
It's gonna look like East LA.
Oh, that's pretty close now, and then try and throw some trees and stuff in it, and it's gonna look, as you drive down the road, it's gonna be right out there at you.
We need some taggers.
That I have an issue with, is looking at concrete.
It's variations of concrete masonry units in different colors to give it a pattern and to break up the wall space.
Well, that and a little more vertical landscaping. I think.
Is there any requirement, or could there be a requirement that when these are presented, they present them in 3-dimensional views? It's very difficult to do it for everyone to see the same thing here. We're all imagining what it's gonna look. It's not a big deal with all the technology today. If this is an AutoCAD, they can do a 3D block study so that people can evaluate each other.
AutoCAD don't do 3D very well.
Pardon?
AutoCAD doesn't do 3D very well.
Well, at least some, there are other programs that do, but I think it's such a
They could
massive,
at least put elevations and stuff in there so you can see
or
it.
elevations, yeah.
They have supplied elevations, can issue them to you as well.
To Emmanuel's comment on the last case, the parapet here is going to hide all the roof?
Yeah, we don't know.
I don't know if we have
We'll put it behind
elevations.
the building.
Well, that's a requirement now,
What?
to screen everything?
Sure.
Is it?
Well, it's, I know in one of the zones it is, in the industrial zone, we have to screen, right?
That's right.
I haven't seen any of the detail plans, they just came out today, and I haven't had a chance to even open them up online to see what they look like.
I don't know, George, the building on the left next to the food store, or Aldi, whatever you call them, really kind of have a problem with that one, but I do have a problem with the front one. That's my personal opinion.
What does that do for,
And that's under,
setbacks as far as the residential property?
industrial district.
Doesn't exist.
That's commercially zoned.
Maybe
But
the
you have a
same
residential use here still.
Residential use, which being,
Those be zoned.
being proposed for commercial
Liquor
use.
store.
Both properties?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
When's that coming before us?
No,
Can
it was
we,
supposed to be this month, but it looks like it's been postponed.
can we achieve some connectivity there?
Between the two of them?
Hmm.
That might be an appropriate condition of approval.
I think that would be beneficial for Toby Road if we could connect.
Okay.
We could connect this and William Crossing even better, but I know there was a big elevation change going toward William Crossing.
Yeah, the Wareham Crossing connection was considered in the original design, and considered it wasn't gonna work because of grades and the wetlands.
It's
So
just-
to connect, to link to the adjoining property on Seth Toby, because of course Makes a lot of sense.
And I also think the connection to Wareham Crossing isn't that bad down at that level. If you had to go behind the residential property to make the connection, it was a severe grade change.
But it'll cross the frontage, you think it's,
It may be more doable, but it may not. I don't have the elevations here.
Is this because otherwise, we don't know what's gonna propose here for a curb cut. I mean, you know, we're creating our own monster over here.
Well, I don't see a way to fix it. If you try to eliminate all those curb cuts, you're just gonna compound things.
Leave this one as open space. Wow, that'll go over big.
Well, moving right along.
so does the board want to make recommendations to the Board of Appeals?
Well, I would, off the bat, is, like I say, more vertical landscaping along here to match the other proposed.
That's wrong.
You guys have a problem with extending that building all the way over to
I
the
don't know
left?
who that was. I don't
That's
know.
my niece lives there.
Yeah, but I don't know who that is,
Yeah, me neither.
unless somebody bought it.
Guys, you have a problem with them extending that building all the way to the left to the driveway? I do.
Yeah.
The back building, next to the food store, I think it's a food store, I'm not sure. Next to that, they've made that building deeper. I don't have a problem with that. But the one up on the road, I have a problem with because it's, number one, it's right out on the road. And number two, now you're extending it right down to the driveway.
Right, so
So
you're gonna be,
anybody coming in and out, you're blind.
yeah, you're gonna have to drive almost all the way down. If you got two cars in queue, the back guy hasn't got a clue what's going on.
Well, your stop sign is still in the clear.
Well, you know, we knew that from the get-go, that they wanted bigger buildings, so. All right. That's my 2 cents.
So the two comments I have are more landscaping on Seth Toby Road, between the building and the road, and the extension of the building is not acceptable.
Well, landscaping or some sort of treatment to the walls to break it up and make it look like, almost like it's a frontage or something like that, make it look presentable to
We don't have any
Toby.
taggers in West Wareham to paint the walls. Like I said, it's gonna look like East LA pretty soon. You know, all we're gonna be driving on the road, all you're gonna be looking at is back of buildings.
And that's concerning. I think the concealing of the roof units.
Well, you're not gonna see them from the road being that close anyway, you know, if they're on top of the building.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, you can see the units on top of the 99 complex.
Yeah, but that's quite a ways away. You know, you're only 25 feet off the road right here, so you see it maybe from Walmart's parking lot.
Yeah, I go up and down that Toby Road 6, 8 times a day. I don't know how it's gonna take the volume coming out on the Toby Road. There's not enough lane coverage there. Have they done a traffic study? I mean, how many spots are there? There's gotta be 200 spots there, right?
They have done a
I
traffic
believe the traffic flow at Walmart was supposed to be revisited, but was it a year or 2 years after?
They did a study for Aldi's and this project when the first one came out. And at full build-out, if everything is there, this level of service on Toby Road will go to level F with everything that's there.
F being the worst. The delay.
And they're
You mean
gonna
it
have a
doesn't mean-
package store down
You
there?
mean it doesn't mean fine?
Fantastic.
think Walmart was 2 years too. I think it was 2 years on Walmart.
We can check on the condition.
Because I think there's already been numerous accidents at that driveway.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, that's, as a resident of West Wareham, that's my primary concern, is that I think we need to justify this traffic study, to expand the buildings, expand capacity, expand the exchange of cars coming in and out. We're just, we're selling more tables at the restaurant. There's more volume pushing out to Toby Road with the expansion of the buildings. That's a real concern of mine, and it doesn't solve anything to discharge onto the Cranberry Highway, because now you got two lights too close to each other.
Well, there is no light proposed there.
No, I
You just
understand
have
that,
a
but
solid
even if-
stripe here, and you got,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, is that it makes no sense. You're down
The
to
people that come out of there, it's gonna take the left coming out of there, is gonna have a problem on 28. Because if the problem you have there now is when you come down 28, everybody gotta kick over to the right-hand lane if you're gonna go straight through.
The other problem I'm noticing in Toby Road is the increase of pedestrian traffic on there, and I think I said this to you the other day, Ken, is that the sidewalks are broken all the way down there. There's no pedestrian crossings that I see being planned across there. There's gonna be foot traffic coming from Walmart into this plaza for sure.
There's a handicap ramp where you turn into Walmart at the main entrance. There's a handicap ramp there, and I believe the intent was to put a crosswalk there so you could get to the other side of this, where this site is, at that intersection. And if memory serves me right, they reserved the right to look into the potential for a traffic light at that intersection as well.
Yep.
And that was early in the Walmart stages too. It wasn't this one, it was before that.
I think they ought to revisit that now. The other thing about that building location, the new building location, is right on the setback line. And if you look at your zoning requirement where it has facades of buildings that are in excess of 100 feet long, you're supposed to be breaking up that facade so that it doesn't look like a one solid wall surface. They could do that by bringing the wall in and out, maintain the 20-foot setback in certain locations, but put it back to where it was. It was 25.
well, I said, or creating a facade that doesn't look like the back of a building. Make the,
Yeah. That,
you could,
that was brought up at the hearing for the first project with the ZBA. And the argument against that was, well, we want people to be looking at the buildings from inside the lot. And essentially, it was, we don't really care what it's looking like on Toby Road.
Oh, good for them.
I mean, they didn't use that words, those are my words, but they did say that they were more focused on what the site looked like once you got into the site than what it looked like from the perimeter.
I'm sorry, because I'm new to this. Have they received the permits,
They have their permit for the existing construction,
which is what part?
which is the Aldi store, which is now up and is being enclosed.
Which one?
This is, they're coming in for a
This one.
modification of the original permit approval. They got a special permit approval. They've almost built this structure here, and they have the foundation in for this structure here.
But when they get that permission, do they not present elevations and
Yes, they do.
did they?
Yes, they did.
And they were approved?
They were approved by the Board of Appeals.
So do we have any authority to change, or to recommend, or to request?
All you're doing is
For
recommending.
the modifications, they're asking for your recommendations now.
Only
So now you can give them all the recommendations you want.
if
See
they want,
if they add them in.
it's up to them.
but you have no rendition here to know what you're looking at.
Yeah, exactly. Can't we ask for that? Show what you're proposing for the remainder of the work?
You can ask, but it's up, to the ZBA.
Pardon?
You can do it as a recommendation to the ZBA, but it's up to the ZBA what they do. If you needed road work done, extra road work, you'd have to go the same way.
So,
I'm sorry, I don't understand the procedure, but
It's not, this is not directly the purview of the planning board. The planning board basically gives recommendations. The ZBA makes the final decision.
So, here's my concern, is that if we allow them to squash this from 25 feet down to 20, and we find that the volume of traffic needs to be corrected on Toby Road, we're gonna have very little space to expand that into a third lane.
Because it's such a,
So, until we have a solid traffic study to say that the entire run of that double lane in front of this property and for this beaten plot here
planning board controls.
is only, what, 800, 1,000 feet? Double lane?
Yeah.
It's industrial
You know,
land.
So, and where you have curb cuts, what, 150 foot apart from each other?
It's a little more than that.
Right. So you're gonna get 3 or 4 cars out there out of each curb cut, and that entire, you're gonna bottleneck that entire light right there.
This is
Right
what
now,
they
it's
submitted
not too
today.
bad at the light.
big.
I've
Yeah.
seen, you say you travel it 8, 10 times a day, I travel it a little bit, and I've seen probably, what, 6 or 8 cars
Yeah.
where they stack up at the light
Is the
waiting for it
bank
to
still
change.
looking for a
The
drive-through
right-hand
again?
turn lane, they can get out pretty
Not at
quick,
the
but it's
moment.
that left-hand turn lane going north on
We're trying to
28
lie.
that's the
We're supposed
bottleneck.
to ask for it.
Yeah, right.
But
Makes more sense.
So I think I'm a little bit of both here, is to say,
I think that's a nice
No.
one.
let's be careful on the expansion to the left, but I don't wanna squash that curve. I don't wanna push that 25
Bear in mind
feet
that-
down to 20.
bear in mind that the first building which you're gonna see, which is now that foundation, that's at 21. So to widen the layout of Toby Road in front of that building is gonna push it tight to the face of the building as well.
you've essentially added another unit, another building to this site.
Yeah.
Square feet wise, yeah.
I think the front one, I'm against it.
I don't know if they're having that great a success finding tenants, or?
Well, that's my point, and believe me, I build all over the place, but you're enlarging buildings for what reason? You have no tenant.
Feel that they would come, right? They will come?
So I'm just against the front one. I think you're bringing it right to the driveway. It's a silly mistake.
Let's see.
Okay.
So I have the recommendation to do more landscaping on South Toby Road, the extension of the building on building B is not acceptable. That it needs to conceal the roof units, and that the traffic impact should be revisited via Walmart traffic assessment requirement.
Well, they have their own,
They have their own traffic.
they have their own traffic study too that they have to.
Long enough for them.
Yeah, but you can also include Walmart's impact as well.
Yeah, I think they're somewhat codependent.
You can request your independent traffic study. You don't have to simply accept theirs.
Mhm.
Are you interested in recommending an independent traffic study?
Yeah, it could be done in conjunction with Walmart, maybe between the two sites, they'll put a light in.
And I think where we're at, we should keep in consideration, we know that there's another site coming right next door.
Yeah, mention that.
Where is that?
The package store, where the 2 residential houses are.
Oh.
When you come out here to the left, them houses are going, they're gonna go away. There's gonna be a proposed package store.
It's all,
They held out and sold. All right, good. I hope they made money. Custer's last stand there.
Oh. Billy's long past Karen. I don't think she's far behind.
What about the crosswalks?
And crosswalks across South Toby.
Because there is a sidewalk on that side as well? Okay.
Probably want a light control crosswalk, Ken, at a minimum.
I'm sorry?
Probably want a light control crosswalk as a
Yes, excellent.
minimum. You don't want to have just a crosswalk. That's just because people are targeting for it when they run them over.
Yeah, which is gonna be a little tricky with 4 curb cuts coming out onto that road. But
Synchronize it.
can I just encourage the board to, as the solar farm comes up, any other issues on Toby Road, there is a break in sidewalks all the way through there. There's not a fluid way for pedestrian traffic to move up and down that road now. So, and I do notice increased traffic, you know.
Anything else? Want me to draft a letter and, with these recommendations on it, from the planning board to the Board of Appeals?
When do they go to ZBA?
Wednesday night?
So it's gotta be done tomorrow.
You don't think they're gonna wrap this up in one night?
It might.
It could happen,
It could happen,
where it's just a modification.
yeah.
Could really use
Are they,
They consider that a minor modification?
are they going to make that determination whether it's major or minor, or when's it?
They already made the decision that it's a major modification.
Okay.
He did, I was gonna say, that if they made that a minor one, we got a problem.
Well, if they did, it would just be a slam dunk Wednesday night, so we have to have the recommendation. All right.
All right, do you have a motion on that?
Send a letter to the ZBA.
Send a letter to the ZBA stating that the planning board recommends that they consider more landscaping on South Toby Road, that the extension of the building on Building B is not acceptable, that there's a need to conceal the roof units, and it should be proven, that there should be an independent traffic study in conjunction with the Walmart traffic assessment,
See, I have a problem with that.
that there should be a link to the adjacent property with the proposed liquor store, and the crosswalks with light control across South Toby should be installed.
How about sidewalks itself?
And sidewalks along South Toby.
I believe they showed sidewalks, didn't they?
They may have, I'm just saying, that the concern is that they're broken up all the way up and down the road. Let's make sure that that these people stop putting them in. Then they can, then it's gonna be who's gonna maintain them.
Well, there aren't.
So the question I have, Mr. Chairman, is that comment on the traffic study with why are we involving Walmart that's across the street?
That was a part of their condition, that their traffic would be reviewed after, was it 2 years? For, to see if a light was, for one thing, see if a light was wanted in
Okay,
Toby Road.
but this project across the street is the one that's expanding. Where's their traffic study? Where's it put on them to show, like Mark said, you're putting in more seats, you're bringing in more people, where's the flow? My personal opinion is to say to one applicant, we need you we recommend to zoning to do this, 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 and this. And by the way, have Walmart upgrade their traffic study. We should be doing that with Walmart separate, not
Well,
with this applicant.
Well, I think if they redo their traffic study for this site, you may be able to get both parties to get together and work on a light. That's my only thought.
Sure.
But,
Can we have that sentence worded differently, that applicant to upgrade their traffic study and maybe contact Walmart for theirs as well, something to that effect. The way that reads to me is,
Well, the point was, I think, in this, is that whether or not it's an independent traffic study, You have somebody that the town hires for the purpose of studying the traffic.
That's fine.
Or you have the applicant do the traffic study and figure, and resubmit and have that review.
So it's my opinion is that you would need to be able to envision the tenants so that you can conclude the volume that will be coming in and out. For example, there's a bank there with a drive-up teller. That's gonna push no drive-up teller there.
As of right now, no. There is
Well, I
not.
thought I saw that drive looping around that,
The drive is looping around, but they did not request a drive-up window.
uh-huh,
It's not allowed in that area.
okay. So restaurants, supermarkets, high-volume traffic, weekend traffic, there's this variance of day and time that I don't know that an independent town study is gonna be able to calculate.
There are models that are being used for the purpose of figuring traffic impact. This is being classified as a shopping center, and under the Institute for Transportation Engineers, there's a certain amount of traffic per 1,000 square feet of space,
Of retail space, okay,
of whatever space within the shopping center
okay. All right,
meets that definition.
then my just suggestion would be that it be independent then, so that it's not skewed in any way.
That does make sense, because they did update the traffic study with this application, right, Ken?
Right.
And they said that there's I forget what the percentage was, a 2 or 3% increase or something like that.
Something minor.
But the level of service on Toby Road with the build-out of this without the addition was still level service F. So it's not gonna be any better with the expansion. But you've only got one side of the traffic study. So to have an independent person review their documentation and make sure that it's all saying what it should and that you're getting the right information is a good way to do it. And if there's any discrepancies that they pick up, you'll be aware of it.
So, push for an independent? Is that what you wrote?
Yep. They have an independent traffic study performed to determine the traffic impact while assessing the Walmart traffic as well, which would be part of a typical study anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Vanass Hangen that did Vanass Associates did the traffic study. Weren't they the same people that did the Walmart study?
I don't know who did the Walmart study.
Vanessa was
Wasn't
out
part
there.
of that.
I think they were.
Were they Walmart or were they state?
They might have been state. They might have been the state contractor for the reconstruction of 28. Yeah, you're right.
We had a couple, and I think there was some overlap too, so. Is Serpent doing a corridor study?
They're not doing a traffic study. They did a land use study of the corridor.
Is there a motion?
There is. I made the motion that Ken just read.
Yeah, okay. Is there a second? Sorry, anybody? Thanks, Mike. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. Next order of business is, we're looking for a clerk. Michael Fitzgerald was our clerk, and we'd like to fill that position. The clerk signs off on certain plans, and we used to anyway compile a list of conditions that he could insert into projects. We should probably get back on track with that list to speed things up a little bit. Any volunteers?
Is that list in writing?
Yes, it is.
What's that? What was the question?
Is the list of standard conditions in writing, and it is.
Yeah, I probably still have a couple of variations too from when I was clerk.
Yeah, that's, just kind of curious.
Any volunteers? Don't all jump up at once.
John Cronin.
You don't want to be the clerk, maybe I'll do it.
No.
Hey, he's the vice chair.
I'm just teasing John. I'll do
John Cronin, got his hand up.
it if you need it, George.
We usually set it up so more than one person can sign plans, so if you're not available. Was that agreeable, John?
Sure.
Was that a motion, Mike?
Make a motion to appoint John as board clerk.
Second?
Speak now or hold your peace. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, John.
I think you have to fill out a form, sign it, and submit it also for the
Mhm.
state.
53G accounts.
Yeah, now we've resolved the accounts to know where they are. And now we've found that we have about 70 accounts that are sitting there. Some that have been on projects that have been long completed. What we want to do is to return the funds that are no longer necessary for the 53G review. As you know, the 53G is the consultant's review, peer review, that pays for Charlie Rowley's time and others, independent consultants for review of projects. And these are monies that are left over from those previous reviews that we can return. If we cannot find the original entity that submitted the funds after an attempt to return them, the town can keep the funds. But we have to go through the process. So what we're going to be doing is identifying those entities that had submitted the original funds and suggesting those applications that are complete and closed, and have you vote on the money to return it. This is for informational purposes. You have the list that we have at present.
Some of these appear to be current projects that may still be,
Under construction and under review, and that, yes, this is the complete list.
okay, so you have to identify the ones that are complete?
Right. And some of these are zoning board of appeals, and some are planning board, and we have to resolve those accounts.
Well, it's a little troubling that some of these are in deficit and they had their surety returned to them, so I don't know if we can legally withhold surety, but probably should have been done for some leverage here on some of these.
Which ones are you thinking of?
Well, Jonathan Estates has a $3,000 negative.
There's a separate action we're following through and going out and trying to recover funds from those that went into the negative.
Mhm. And I take it these are old ones, that's why they're in the negative. That was a problem a few years back.
That's right.
But I saw another one that, like you've got two rather large ones here that are still incomplete many years later.
That's right.
By the new Marriott.
Performance bonds that are still sitting out, but are unable to be used because they don't complete the project as the current costs are higher than the performance bond.
In this particular one, I think the town has already taken the money. But I don't think there's enough money to finish the project. So maybe we could, is it possible to take some of the unclaimed funds to finish a couple of the projects that didn't get finished? Or
Yes,
once the town takes them,
right.
then we have to have a wrestling match as to who gets the cash? Unless we, some of these smaller ones, I think they're just, clerical things.
Give AT&T back there $3. Some of these are long done, huh?
Yeah, if there's any knowledge you have of these ones, you can give me a call in the office or let me know by email.
Can you email that list to me, Ken? I'll go.
Sure. I'll give you a hard copy now. So that was just for informational purposes tonight.
I think that should be Marata.
I didn't hear his explanation of these accounts are. These are the 40G accounts, the money that they put in escrow for inspections and this and that.
All right.
And this is the money that they have record of, they have holdings of. They get it back.
Letter of support for the Open Space and
Couple of them.
Recreation Plan.
This project was never done,
Have I
there's not
read
enough
that?
money to complete the road. This one,
What are you roping me into, Ken?
this one here, they were supposed to come back, they never did the
Uh,
landscaping or whatever.
Created an update of the Open Space and Recreation Plan for 2017 to 2024. It's a 7-year plan. And the final plan looks for support from the boards and commissions of the town to the open space plan. It's very similar to what was previously done. It's an update of the plan. This is a plan that the town has had it for a number of years. It allows you to go after grant funds for open space and recreation from the state by having this in place. So it's it's worthwhile documentation.
Is it available online or something?
Yes, it's available. In draft form. It was last modified about 7 years ago, 2010.
It's a 2-page document.
No, it's not. Unfortunately not. It's a lengthy document.
Hmm?
Is there any reason to oppose it?
Say again?
Is there any reason to oppose supporting it?
I don't know without reading it.
Okay, do they need a decision immediately, or can we review it and?
You can review it and make a comment on it.
Is that something that has to go before town meeting to be voted on, or what's?
No, it does not have to go before town meeting.
So we
It
can,
requires the approval of the Board of Selectmen. But the recommendations, the letters of support come from the other boards and commissions.
Is this the existing one that's through 2017, or is this a brand-new one?
This is the brand-new one, 217 to 2024.
The 7-year plan?
Right. Okay, we'll get that out to you and have that on the next.
now, we talked briefly about whether it'd be possible to adjust the proposed solar bylaw in time to advertise or have another public hearing on it. I knew that's why he was here. And I see our moderator is with us. Would you like to come forward and share with us your take on how to adjust the bylaw at this point?
Sure, I'm Claire Smith, town moderator. Without actually seeing what your proposal is, I can give you a general answer. I went in and looked at the warrant article as it is written. Your warrant article is pretty general, and that's basically all you need to do is to alert the public to what the subject matter is going to be that you're discussing. So if you look at your warrant article, the warrant article is to see if the town will vote to add solar energy generation facility regulations in the town of Wareham zoning bylaws by amending Article 3, Section 320 and Section 340 to add new use categories. So you really haven't been specific as to what kind of categories you're going to insert. So it's sort of a general message that you're sending to the public. And by amending Article 5 to add a new section with solar energy generation facility regulations. So again, you have not specified hard regulations, but you have alerted the public to what you're talking about, and that is the addition of regulations. And then amending Article 16 definitions to add definition for types of regulated solar energy generation facilities, as is on file in the office of the town clerk. So you really haven't made a definitive article of what exactly you're doing. You have alerted the public to a generality of that you will be addressing certain sections. So have you filed anything with the town clerk at this point?
The draft zoning bylaws should be in the town clerk's office at this point.
It's a draft.
Yeah.
Again, without seeing, you can take away. The question of scope becomes when you add to. So without seeing what your proposal is, it would be a little difficult for me to rule right now. But as I said, right now, your warrant article is pretty general, that you're looking to add regulations and amendments, but it's not specific. So, I did not stop by the town clerk's. I've been away for a week. If it's a draft, it's a draft. It's not a finished product. So again, I'd have to see after you're hearing what you're adding. But I would say, because your warrant article is pretty general,
Well, I guess the question that was raised was the regulation within the R130 and the R60 districts, where most of the solar fields are constructed at this time. We have 8 of them in the town, and I don't think most people know how many we actually have because of the way they're situated on the properties. In the original draft that we discussed at the hearing, when we opened it up in the, on September 11th, what was presented was a prohibition of solar fields in the R130 and the R60 district. If we were to say that those are special permit or site plan review uses within those districts, and prohibit them in the commercial districts where the original draft had them as special permit uses, would that be taking away or adding?
I don't know, Ken, I really,
See, they could be kind of subjective in this, in some, you know, making it from a no to a special permit is making it less restrictive.
Less
So is that an
restrictive.
increase or decrease?
yeah. Like I said, in terms of scope, you've got a very broad warrant article. Let me go in and look at what you have tomorrow or Wednesday, and then I can give you a better answer. But I think your warrant article itself is pretty broad. It's just, I haven't seen what you actually have on file.
Yeah,
And if it's a draft, it's still a draft, it wasn't the finished product.
right.
But it would have to be a finished product before the warrant was printed,
Yeah.
which happens when?
Very close.
Yesterday?
Warrant goes to print the first week in October, I believe. I think Kelly has to have everything. When Finance Committee meets Wednesday night, I think she needed everything the end of this week, and I think it goes to print next week. But I'll check with Mary Ann tomorrow. I'll go in and take a look. But as long, I mean, you can always take away. If you think of a Russian doll that you used to take and stack, you can take away, you just can't add to. But you've got a pretty broad article there.
But it's not like it was a budget amount, a dollar amount, where it's clear what you're adding or subtracting. It's not quite that cut and dry when you come to an article like this.
But even with budget amounts, there is a certain amount of leeway to increase if it's reasonable, dependent on the moderator. Some moderators will say no, and others will say, you know, if it's reasonable, I might give you 5% or 10% to add and say it's okay. It just depends on the moderator. But like I say, looking at the way the article is written, it's pretty broad. You've notified the public, you're talking about regulations and adding regulations and adding sections, so they've been forewarned.
Mhm.
But I'll go in and I'll see Ken tomorrow. Maybe late morning, are you in
Yeah,
tomorrow?
that'd be fine.
Okay, I'll stop in.
You have any questions?
No, I wanted to know if there will be a meeting on the 11th of October, or whether that's been kicked over to the 16th of October, because on the agenda, it said October 11, which is not a normal meeting night for the board.
That's right.
We move it into the 16th, and we judge.
Correct. Did we didn't continue something to the 11th, right?
No, I'm just asking because it's printed as the 11th on the agenda. Mr. Buckland made clear that the hearing that opened on September 11 closed on September 11.
Oh, not October 11th.
No, September 11th is when the hearing opened up on the bylaws, the articles on the bylaws, and you had closed the hearing that night.
So if we were to revisit this, we'd have to have another public hearing
Right.
prior to town meeting.
It would have to be published, just like the first one was.
Correct.
And do I take it that that'll now be the 16th?
I think that's the only option we have, yeah.
Yeah, okay, just wanted to clarify.
You need to post that for the 16th.
Right.
There you go.
Now, in the meantime, there had been some suggestion about working with solar developers to review the article, the zoning bylaw, and make recommendations. We did check in with one developer, Borrego, who has done a couple of projects in town. And they found the bylaw is written to be acceptable.
Really?
Was that with a change in the table of use?
Yes.
Oh, with the change? Okay, I haven't seen anything beyond what was discussed on September 11.
Well, we did talk about making it a special permit, the R60 and R130.
I think there's a question as to whether or not that should be a special permit or a site plan review as to who actually does the review.
Mm-hmm.
I think the building inspector under the current bylaw perceives it to be the zoning board.
Well, there is no bylaw,
Right.
and that's the reason why the Board of Appeals is the one who,
Right.
as the board that actually does the reviews.
Could you send along the revised text to me tomorrow?
Sure.
About some sort of recognition of municipal sites. Should we be silent on that, or should you make,
We could allow it to be used in municipal sites. What we have is the institutional district, which covers a good portion of the town facilities that we say as of right in the list of allowed uses.
mm-hmm. I was thinking more in line of, say, like the sewer department looking for a solar field. Off the top of my head, they'd have to do building a canopy mounted. Realistically, I don't think they have the footprint to do it ground mounted.
I would urge you to check with town council as to whether you can make a distinction between privately owned sites and municipally owned sites because of the uniformity requirement in Chapter 40A, but you should check with him as to whether that's possible.
I think there was something similar done elsewhere with windmills and things where they
Oh,
reserved it, but you're right, any change would have to have some scrutiny.
yeah.
Pass that down, Jody, sign it for you.
So, if we're gonna, go over this and see what, you wanna give it to council, or?
Yeah, I can ask the question after I meet with Claire tomorrow. If there's a legal question remaining, we can go talk to Rich Bowen.
Did everybody get this in their packet?
Yes, they should have received that letter from Patricia McLeod, Pratt McLeod.
Just looking at that now, I got a couple of questions on that. It's got a couple of legitimate points.
What do you got?
Well, I just know during some of the discussions throughout the process of Bay Point, so she has a little history prior to building the existing village. The Point condos, the Wareham Planning Board initially stipulated that village resident vehicles and delivery trucks going in and out of the private development should not use Cahoon Street. And I think they are. And then initially, Cahoon Street residents were assured by the planning board that a locked gate would be constructed on its private/public way boundary. A sign after the decision was made which says "not a through way" was erected. It still stands at the beginning of Cahoon. She make a plea that we research the original stipulation made by this board prior to giving Stone Street Corp. An approval to move forward with construction of subdivision developments at Bay Point. So those two questions are whether I'm thinking incorrectly or not, but I think Pat's got a good point. Initially, on the initial plans, there were people in the audience that said the initial Bay Point, or the village, whatever you call it up there, weren't supposed to go down Cahoon Street. And at the time, I think Stone Street or whoever is one of the partners there, whatever, says, well, we'll be going the other way and going out the main drive. Doesn't seem to be the case. And then about a locked gate, I know at one end of the drawing showed a locked gate, but I thought it was at a cul-de-sac that was down the other end,
The other end,
right? That was the other end.
down near Lucas's.
That's correct, I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the name, but down there. So I know there was always a locked gate at that end.
Where?
Short.
Short neck.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, short neck.
Right. But on the Cahoon Street side, in other words, when you went in, and I may have it wrong, so maybe everyone can help me out here. When you come in Bay Point, you go to the right, you have the country club, it's on the left, and the clubhouse is on the right. And you head up a little further, and the existing units are there. And if you kept going, that's the Cahoon Street where Pat lives and where the complaint is.
Right.
So I know that at the time, Mr. Fitzgerald and myself, and I think way back when, Bob Reed, we had listened to Pat's letters previously and some of the tenants up there. What is your memory, Mr. Chairman? Was there not a stipulation that they weren't supposed to use that road?
In our original approval, we directed them to instruct construction equipment to use the main gate. The only The reference to gating off Cahoon, I think, refers to the condos that are there now. If you look, the roadway goes off Bay Point Drive, goes up through the condos, and then comes back around the pond, and has the capability of connecting back to Cahoon, and I think that is blocked off.
Okay, so,
But that was a
No,
decision
It's
or a
not blocked
condition.
it's not blocked off. That's what the problem is.
Yeah,
It's not.
that's what the
Well,
complaint
if-
is about.
There was a dispute about where the property line was, where the gate was gonna go, John. They brought that up when they came to the meeting initially.
Mhm.
And
well, I know the neighbors did, and that's why I'm saying I kind of apologize to my fellow board members here, but I forget, but I know Pat had written letters, and the people that were sitting here had complained about it. And I'm just asking, can't we block that off and make those people happy, or is this a done deal where they're all gonna use it? And then we look pretty bad because we had said things in the beginning and way back
Well,
when that they would.
we told them in the conditions that they're not supposed to use that road. But the thing is, there's no gate there. Who's gonna police it?
Well, it's a town way. I mean, you can't deny people access to a town way.
So I guess then the comment that,
But if there was in the condition that loop, the existing condo complex was supposed to have been blocked off or be for emergency use only, then that could be recognized with signage, or how old would that be?
The condo project?
Yeah.
15 years, anyway.
sure, yeah.
Say 15, 18, yeah.
I mean, if that's a condition of that approval that isn't being
Well,
recognized.
it's not being recognized because one of the tenants of one of the owners of one of the original units stood up and said,
They use it all.
I knew right from the beginning you're not, so I'd do it anyway. So he was admitting that they use that and that they're not supposed to. So I mean, and then, you read into the next paragraph, as a taxpayer and full-time, I question why one public access road, Short Neck Road, warrants a locked gate where most of the proposed units will be located and Cahoon Road does not. It's a good question that she raises. And I know Pat, and I apologize that I don't remember a gate being proposed at the Cahoon thing, but I remember all the neighbors standing saying, we don't want all that traffic going down Cahoon.
Well, I think it's a case of that end of Cahoon Road is abandoned. That's right, as far as I know, and it's gonna be, when phase 2 or 3 actually constructs that.
How's it gonna be abandoned, Judge? That was never brought up in the conversation, about abandoning that in the Road.
So,
Bay Point wanted that blocked off so that people would not be driving through phases 2 and 3 on their own, that it would be controlled. And since all of what they were doing, they were restricting themselves basically from using Short Street to get back out to Onset Avenue. All of their development would go through Bay Point. The condos that are there today, they have access either through Cahoon Road or Bay Point Drive, one or the other. But you're right, George, you can't block off Cahoon Road. If you block it off, then you're forcing them to go the other way.
well, I mean, as a public road, they have as much access to Cahoon as anybody else.
Yes. But
But at the other end, it was, I believe, abandoned and turned over to the golf course property.
yeah, that portion of what used to be Cahoon stopped, and that was abandoned as a public way. That's why you could block it off, because there was nobody that was going to be using that except the golf course. Anybody that comes in that short street, they get to their property before you get to the gate. So nobody is restricted. They can go back and forth on that little piece with no problem.
But in our original approval, one of the conditions was the construction equipment use Bay Point Drive.
Okay.
That's about all that they have control over.
Oh, I just appreciate you going through it, because I don't want to see the neighbors up there feel that we totally ignored them. I mean, the way it reads, we totally ignored them. But we didn't.
Well, we had this discussion at the time about blocking off a public way
Yeah.
and denying access.
Okay. Well, hopefully the majority of the people use the main access in and out instead of coming. Make it a one-way, and they wouldn't use it. What else?
Yeah, to me, I would think they would want to make Short Neck Road an exit, but
Yeah.
they didn't want to.
Well, the golf course didn't want to.
Right. Is there more correspondence in the packet? Is that just a...
That was it. There are other notices from adjoining towns about public hearings that they're holding.
Master plan. How's that going?
Master plan is good. We had a public meeting held with a chance for people to comment on the previous goals and objectives of the 1998 master plan. We're going to put out a online survey to get some additional responses. And hopefully have another public meeting in November after town meeting.
Sounds like a plan.
Very good. Well, that's all I have on the agenda. Anything else this evening?
For the signing of the Mylars for Bay Point, we don't have them, so we can't sign them, right?
Correct. Which means the surety's not in place either.
I got a question, maybe someone can answer it, maybe they can't. One of the people that was sitting here tonight about Recovery Road, I think it was Bob Rogers, the engineer. He said something about the building at the corner, it used to be the daycare center. Is that gone now? The daycare center's out of there? Who's in there?
He moved
Nobody's in there at this point.
It's gonna be sold.
What is it?
It's gonna be sold.
An RFP was put out for lease of the property.
Lease or sale.
It's a good place to sell recreational marijuana.
Who?
No, it's not a daycare anymore.
They did a lot, they renovated the whole building, didn't they?
Yes.
Wasn't there a tenant there?
What?
Yeah,
Daycare center.
they were moved to another building,
Where did they go to?
moved to one of the school buildings,
Now,
took over.
you know, whatever happened to the Head Start people down at the, can't think of the name.
Oak Grove School?
Grove. Are they still in there?
Still there.
there.
No,
No, they're still there.
I thought it was another entity in there.
It's Cape Cod Development or something like that, but that's the Head Start.
I
Same
thought,
program.
So so here's my question, and maybe you can pick up on it, Alan, as a selectman. So, back in the day, when it started to become the Cape Verdean Cultural Center wanted to go in there, and they couldn't get in there because Head Start had a 10-year.
It's being worked on.
No, I'm just asking.
I'm serious. I can't give you details right now, Joe.
No, I understand. I just was getting a question off my chest. So hopefully if it's still being worked on, because at the time, they said, well, when the 10 years is up, we'll move Head Start to some school property. But I don't know how many years it's been. I'm asking, maybe it's happened, maybe it hasn't.
It's in process is the best answer I can give you.
if you remember, they had an
For
approach,
both entities.
they had
It's not
a,
a secret though, is it?
They
until,
had
until
a
something
plan
is
to put an
published
addition
and
on.
RFP goes out, you know, but I can't make a promise to somebody until it's black and white on paper.
Gotcha.
Been working on it for 2 years now.
I worked on it for many and didn't seem to get
We're
anywhere.
close.
They did have a proposal to put an addition on that building separate from, but there's plenty of
Because
spaces.
when that was first proposed, John, if you remember, the people of the community thought that that was gonna be their building, and Marilyn Morley come and ripped her carpet from under him. She had it leased out to somebody else.
Yeah, that's okay. That was dirty pool, but that's all
Yeah.
right. All I know is what a battle it was to subdivide that so they could,
Oh, yeah, because there was no frontage, because the frontage was the old railroad trestle. Remember that?
It's funny, I've encountered people that went to school that'll never step foot in that building again, so, you know, you,
Then it was BMO for the longest time. Remember that, Sally?
yep.
Boston Mill Outlet, Sally Roderick.
Yeah.
well, I just remember sitting with Joni Andrews in her living room saying she wanted it for the grandkids. She didn't, my day's over. She said, but the history is
Yeah.
full, like, so.
I think when they got that Head Start program, government money came in to remodel and do all the work there. That's how that ended up that way. There was no money anywhere else.
Should have knocked it down and built a replica.
She did that with the nail place.
It's a wonder it didn't fall down while they were working on it.
Entertaining motion to adjourn.
I would. And there's a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Adjourned at 9:40.